Today I'm going to be speaking over the importance of virtual learning. For me personally, I have been back and forth between homeschooling and in-person and virtual learning and in-person, and have seen the differences in both. My three main points I'm going to be talking about are the advantages and disadvantages to online learning, the comparison between online and in-person learning, and then overall outcomes and things that you can get from learning online. Some positive advantages of learning online is that it's all self-paced. You can log in whenever you want to, middle of the day, middle of the night. You can work at your own pace, do what assignments you want to when you need to. You can get way ahead. You can finish a class a year early if you want to. Another advantage is it's very flexible. If you're busy and you have to go do something or you need to run an errand, you can pause and come back to it. You're not in a Zoom meeting, you're not set in a class. You can log on whenever you need to, do what you need to, pause and come back to it later. A third advantage is you can get a lot of self-motivation from it. Like if you're determined, you have a set goal, you're determined to do it, you can get as far ahead as you'd like to. As soon as you finish a course, you can go and get yourself put in another one and continue to stay ahead of your grade, your class, whatever. Some disadvantages are there is no teacher assistant. So if you're learning online at home, you don't have a teacher there with you. You can't just ask a question or ask for help when you need it. You can send a message to a teacher if you need to, but learning online requires a lot of independence. Another disadvantage is you don't really get any social interaction unless your family's home with you or there's somebody related to you around. At school, you kind of get more of that. So online, it's harder for people who are more social because you don't get to be around other people all day long. Third disadvantage is procrastination. I've been very bad about it myself, putting things off and getting too busy and not being able to get things done. Procrastination is a big factor in a lot of kids. Even in person, I procrastinated my work all the time. So learning online is hard if you're really bad about not getting things done or doing it on time. Which leads into also not being able to get your work done on time or meeting your deadline and having to go back and retaking the class, putting you even farther behind than you would have been in person. So now I'm going to compare the differences online and in person, which it goes along with the advantages and disadvantages. Online, if you take your classes online, you're not held back by other students. So if you're sitting in a classroom, you understand the lesson, you get ahead, that's great for you. But if somebody else doesn't catch on as fast as you do, that holds you back for the entire lesson, so you don't get the extra push that you need. If you do your classes online, it works out a whole lot better because then as soon as you get something, you can move on to the next lesson and keep going at your own rate. And it also makes you a lot more independent. You can work at home by yourself. You don't need to depend on anyone else, lean on anyone else for anything. You can sit there and focus and do everything on your own. In person, you're more social. There's people around that can distract you. That causes more of a disadvantage to some students because some people are very social. And it does make you a lot less independent because then you're sitting in class, you're like, oh, well, I don't know how to do this. You'll ask somebody else, they'll give you an answer, and you won't be able to know how to do it for yourself. So that will also cause a decrease in test grades. And if you're online versus in person, you are able to be more involved in events and things going on around the school. If you're online, I've had this issue this year as well, you don't get all the updates and announcements you need to, you miss all the assemblies, all the events that go on during school, you don't get to be involved in any of that unless you're in a sport after school that you can go to, or if you're already in a club that you do get announcements for. But most of the school events that go on, you don't really get to hear about. Benefits and outcomes overall of learning online: you can get ahead, you can graduate early, which is what I'm doing, you can work everything at your own rate, you can whatever you want to. It develops a level of responsibility. So you're home by yourself, you have your work, you know you have it, and it's up to your responsibility to be able to get it done and do it all yourself. And more independence, more like alone time at home, you get more study time and more time allotted to what you need to, which also statistically shows that it will higher your test grades. In conclusion, online learning is a lot more beneficial than in person because you have a lot more advantages. It's more self-paced, you have more flexibility, you can work everything the way you want it to.